All right, welcome to episode 2 of the AeroBear podcast. I'm Isaac Lopez, and this is my brother.
Bear Lopez, that's me.
That
brother.
is him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, before we get going, I just had a question to ask you. Have we ever been more back?
We are indeed so bad.
We are so back. Yeah, these episodes, episode 2, is honestly going to be jam-packed because we've got to talk about Idaho State road race.
Yeah.
Championships.
This is last racing.
Yep. And then let's wrap up the Giro d'Italia. Talk about the Tour de Dauphine that just got started on Sunday.
It's the Criterium.
Oh, what did I say? Criterium. I knew it. I even have it in my notes correctly. But, and then also graduation. So, lots to get to. But before we do, if you guys want to, make use of the show notes because I'm going to timestamp each section. So if you guys just want to jump ahead or listen all the way through, like very loyal listeners, that would be fantastic.
Yes.
But anyway, so I just think it's super cool. The first half of the season we talked about in episode 1, how there's just a lot of bumps in the road for you, like whether it was literally accidents or just not reading the race right, and then at the end of the episode, we talked about how you really seem to come on the upswing. You won the one Criterium race up in Spokane, the B-Pack for... I always forget the name of the Criteriums up there.
Twilight Series.
Twilight Series, yeah. And then we've got a really cool race that you literally just did this last weekend. So we've been gone for, I don't know, I don't think you've uploaded anything to the channel for a couple weeks, ever since the Bloom series. Yeah. But... it's been so jam-packed because A, you were graduating, mm-hmm. B, you had 2 races, well, you had 3 races because you had another Criterium, 2 more Criterium races up in Spokane, mm-hmm. and then you went all the way down to Boise for like a 2-stage race? Yeah. Okay, so, but let's go ahead and jump to Boise because I think that's the coolest part of your season so far, just in my opinion, because I think it had all the drama you'd want out of a race if you're watching, and obviously not riding. But so the road race on this, literally just on Saturday, you drove down the day before to race this.
Road race was on Sunday.
Okay, cool.
Crit on Saturday.
Yeah, and how long was the road race?
Road race was 60 miles.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
And what was the categories?
It was Cat 3 along with juniors, Cat 3 men, along with juniors 17, 18, along with masters 1, 2, 3 as well.
Nice.
We were originally going to race with the men's Cat 1, 2, but we ended up separating into 2 waves before the race.
Why was that? Was it numbers or?
Well, no. Well, also just the level and the Cat 1-2s is pretty crazy, and so we were expecting them to fire off from the start. At which point, it just whoever wins our heat or like whoever in our category is just if you get onto the right wheel and just kind of follow the strong guys to the finish. So splitting it up into 2 waves essentially let us kind of race against each other a little bit more.
Nice. Okay, cool. That's sweet. So you had how many riders racing your...
I think we had just under 20.
Okay, cool. Yeah. 20 riders for 60 miles.
Yeah.
It's not a big pack. It's not like Tour de Bloom. Yeah. But it still sounded like there was some excitement regardless.
Yeah, we ended up like 10K in. We had a pile up that I think we lost like a third of the group.
Jeez.
Pretty quick, and still not sure exactly what happened. I just heard it happen behind me.
Yeah.
And then it was very different from like in Bloom whenever we heard a crash behind you, because then we started just sprinting just to try and put distance in. But here we were like, okay, let's figure out who went down. We let a couple guys catch back on, and then we started racing again.
So why would that be different between like Bloom and then here? I think you're
well, I think there's also at Boise, it's also a lot more local guys, so like everyone knows each other, so you're a lot more inclined.
Right.
Bloom, especially with how much bigger Bloom is, it's definitely like you need to how should I say this? Basically, like the priority of like positioning kind of outweighs you don't have as many people that you're like, oh, we need to figure out if they're okay. At Boise, everyone kind of knows each other, so, and with, like, 60 miles and not a super big group, it's kind of worth it to see who else can catch back up, just to share the load a little bit. But
so what caused the crash? Were you, like, was it in front of you? Like, did you see it happen?
No, I only heard it behind me.
Okay.
We're still not sure what happened. I might dig through Strava files and try to figure out if anyone got a view of it. But from what it seems like, I don't know, someone crossed wheels or just what got caught off guard by something.
Yeah. Were there any, like, ambulances that had to rush out? Like, was everyone okay?
I heard rumors that one person might have needed an ambulance, but I'm not sure. Yeah, okay. I never got to really figure it out. We also left pretty quick afterwards.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Was that pretty startling though when you hear a crash behind you? Like, are you just like bracing for impact from behind? Like, I know sometimes a pileup can still catch riders in front.
Yeah, I wasn't. I don't really worry too much about that. I mean, like, it's definitely just like, well, at least it's not in front of. Like, you hear the sound and you're like instantly, like, if your eyes aren't already fully up, you're snapping up to like make sure there's not something happening to the side of you or in front of you.
Right.
But you never look back because you don't want to look back and then get your wheel crossed by someone in front.
Totally. Yeah, and isn't it just good coaching advice to stay closer to the front of the pack just for this reason?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, you always want to try to stay close to the front to avoid crashes, but also not so close that you're doing extra work.
Right. So how far up? How far from the front were you?
I was probably like in the front third.
Okay.
At that point, yeah.
Cool. Nice. So when that group reassembles a couple miles down the road, are you like, do you assess riders at the start line, or do you just kind of get into the race and start seeing how people are? Like what shape?
I mean, you always try to kind of see who looks strong, who doesn't. It's really hard to tell on the start. There's a couple guys that I've trained with before in Boise that I knew would be strong in this kind of race.
Okay.
We had raced together at Pickle and Birds of Prey.
Nice. Early on in the season, right?
Yeah, early on in the season.
Was that March or April or? I mean, because I was just looking back through some of the tape on that.
Yeah, probably like April.
Okay.
But yeah, so we had stuck together through, I think, Pickle Butte on that race. So I knew he would be strong. But I also knew that all the hills on this course were kind of too short to really, like, put in a gap.
Right.
So you could make the race hard. So I followed a couple guys over some hills just on little surges to try to drive the pace up. But nothing really stuck from one of those.
Okay.
Yeah. There was the biggest move, I guess you could say, of the race came second lap, which I think we had a group of 3 that went off the front.
Okay.
And I missed it. Part of me was like, because it was on a flat section, I thought I was going to come on the last hill of the loop.
Right.
But it came on the flat before, and I think I was a little bit boxed in there, so I didn't go with it. And then I was like, I just need to wait and try to bridge it on the hill.
Right.
And so it was actually a pretty strong 3, so I ended up ripping it up the last hill to climb. And I think I look up, and the guy that I've trained with in the past is on the front, on the break too, and I know he's a very strong climber.
Right,
so
right.
I think I bridged like halfway, and then we hold even on the climb. And then over the top, I think we had a group of like 6 people that ended up forming a chase and then chasing down the break.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And that was on the last lap, like the last climb?
That's second.
Okay, gotcha.
So we still had 20 miles to go by the time we caught the break. By then we were down to 9 people.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
And then what was the assessment heading into that? I don't really know what the course was, but it looked like it was a pretty straight shot to the finish, maybe up.
Yeah.
Like when did you decide to make your move? Like,
well, I mean, after we caught the break, I had gone into the red pretty hard to help catch, and so I spent like the next 10K after we caught the break into the final lap, just trying to recover, get my heart rate back down.
Okay.
And it was probably with like about 10 miles to 10 or 12 miles to go that I was like, okay, I'm starting to feel like I can go with accelerations again. There was a couple little digs, and it seemed like kind of just more of an attritional battle through the last lap because we kept the pace up a little bit on the climbs and just kind of hung on. And I think we had a couple people that just cramped and dropped in the final lap. So by the time we actually were rolling in for the finish, like over the final climb, we had probably, I think we only had 5 in the group. And so at that point, it was like, okay, we're over the final climb. I didn't feel like the opportunity was there or the ability was there for me to try and make a gap and go long because it's a long descent and then a long flat section to the finish. So you have to get a pretty decent gap over the top of the climb to get away. So I didn't see that as a great possibility. So I sat in.
Okay.
And at that point, we just marked a couple attacks down the descent and kind of rolled into the finish together as a group of 5. And I think it's a pretty long straightaway. You hit the K marker, and about 100 meters after that, you turn left onto the final straight.
Yeah.
And I don't know how far we opened up from, because I think that my theory is that the 200 meter mark is a little bit closer to line 200 meters. Otherwise, it means that we launched from like 350, which doesn't make any sense. But we had one guy launch. I went after him. It was pretty clear it was just going to be me and him to the finish.
Yeah.
And I had a good gear. I was feeling good, so I managed to come past him. And then we had both been out of the saddle, and we saw the 200 meters, and I'm already sitting down again because I'm like...
Right.
I was not expecting it to be this far out, but thankfully we both kind of went a little bit early, so it was kind of seeded power to the finish. I managed to hold him off.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Yeah. Congratulations.
Yeah.
And technically you got a medal for it, right?
Yeah, technically. Yeah.
So you are the state champion of Idaho for Cat 3.
Yeah, Cat 3.
You just stop it right there. No, that's what you have. But more importantly, you got quite a few points.
Yeah, because
to get to Cat 2.
Yeah, thankfully the USA officials there decided to, in order to give us still incentive to go for upgrade points, they scored us all together. Since there wouldn't be enough Cat 3s to get decent points, they just scored all the categories together because we would still be able to get some upgrade points.
That's good. That makes a lot of sense, especially for Idaho. I mean, we talked about in episode 1 just how much you have to travel for it, just to get to these races. So that's cool. I mean, I would love to talk more about just like the tactical reads that you have to make in an endurance sport. You know, it's just so funny because you have to work together. For, I mean, you described for like 20 miles there, but you all know at some point. This becomes less of an allyship, and we're just flat out enemies. Like we're working together up until a certain point. And some people, it's not like there's a script for like, okay, this is that point, you break. And I think that's kind of what, I mean that kind of plays into some of the races we watched over the weekend. Is like, when do you decide to go and when do you start working together?
I mean that's what we basically did when we were chasing down the break. We had 6 people that were fairly committed to working together, but once you just start, it becomes clear that you're going to catch the break. That's where you have to make sure that you like keep everyone together, because once it's like, okay, we're going to catch them, it might stall out right there because people will be like, okay, now you close the final gap.
Right.
But I mean, like once we caught the break, I was like, okay, I'm not doing any work here because I'm not going to help you pull... Like, there's no advantage for me to help pull this group a little bit faster if I'm just going to blow up in another 5 miles.
Yeah, which I think takes us into the next section that I wanted to talk about, and that was wrapping up the Giro, because I think there's a really interesting contrast between the way some riders handled the end of the Giro versus the Criterium du Dauphine. But let's kind of jump in. So, before we really do that... I'm sad to report back that neither of our picks hit. Not that we were betting in the first place, but
none of our picks made it.
Yeah, none of our picks, like, it was just
the race. Yeah.
Like even midway through, I think we talked, and it was like, they're just both out. Juan Ayuso was just like I don't know. He wasn't a flash in the pan. He obviously had some.
He won a stage. He
won the first hilltop finish, and then he also had an accident, I think, and then a bee sting from what Brunel was saying on his podcast, which was crazy. I mean, you've had bee stings so many times.
Mm-hmm. No reaction like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then Primoz was one of your picks, right? Because you also picked. It wasn't Derek King.
I said Bernal because
I
wanted to see Bernal do well, and he looked fairly strong early, and I think he stayed inside top 10. But nothing top level yet.
Yeah, and I just feel bad for Primoz because like when he's on form, he's fantastic. But I feel like the last 2 years he's just been the most unfortunate rider.
Yeah,
with all the
it's
crashes.
becoming a trend.
Yeah, and it's just sad.
Yeah.
Because he just had no shot. Like after you hit the deck just once, but then to do it four times and then a fifth time on a training ride.
Yeah.
That's brutal. So,
that's pretty cool.
But what I wanted to get your opinion on was stage 20 when Isaac Del Toro, who's wearing the pink, which was
Maglia Rosa.
Yeah, and then there you had Carapaz. Was he second overall at that point? He was second behind Isaac.
Yeah, I think it was second.
Yeah, and they were really marking each other on the Col du Finestre.
Yep.
And then Simon Yates, who I don't know if he was in third.
He
might have been fourth. Okay, he was third.
Yeah, it was the top
just
three.
A minute 20 down from the leader. He comes up, catches. It was just them two by themselves. Simon catches him, and then after a few attacks, just drops him. And then they're just staring at each other.
Yep.
And just let him go away, and he wins it. He wins the tour by the Giro by 5 minutes. So I just think it's really fascinating after your race on Sunday to talk about what happened there. Like, what's going through your mind if you're either Isaac or Carapaz? Like, what justifies that? Letting the race right away.
Yeah. I mean, it's really hard to know. I've listened to so many different podcast episodes about this stage.
Yeah. I kept rewatching it too. It reminded me. We kept talking about how
the stage like 11 of 2022 tour.
So
if you haven't seen it, you should go watch it.
It's must see TV. Like
but it's hard to say exactly like what each should have done without knowing also how they felt at that point in the climb, because the Finestre is an hour-long climb. It's an hour-long climb at like 8 or 9%, with the top being in gravel. So it's like a really, really tough climb. And EF, who is riding for Carapaz, basically rode the first kilometer like it was a classics hill.
Yeah.
So it was like the approach into like the Cipressa, where they're just and the Cipressa's like 5K long.
Right.
And so they ripped into the bottom, Carapaz, and attacked straight away, and Del Toro manages to mark him. And then I think Carapaz tries to attack a couple times.
Yeah.
And Del Toro kind of lets the gap go and then reels him back in.
Right.
And then Yates bridges from the group behind, and he launches a couple of attacks, and Carapaz chases him down a couple times. And then the last time that Yates goes, Carapaz essentially says, Del Toro, it's your turn to chase.
Right.
And Del Toro is just focused on Carapaz, who's in second.
Right.
And Yates rides away, and it looks like he gets stronger going up the climb, just kind of getting into rhythm and kind of rips it away. At one point, Carapaz bridges it back to just a few seconds, and then they sit up again, and that's when it gets away for good.
It really seemed cat and mouse there.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's hard to say who should have done what. I think, Del Toro's in the lead, so it's on him to chase that down and try to, if he wants to win the Giro. I think there has to be a point. I think that's the point of the situation where you have to realize, are your legs good, but also are you willing to risk losing second or losing third
right.
to try to win the Giro?
Yeah.
Because it's very possible that if you do a a big turn to try to pull Yates back, you know Carapaz is just going to attack you straight off.
He's just waiting.
That's what he's helping. And so, yeah, it was kind of a weird situation where, I don't know, I feel like Del Toro should have pulled. I can see why he didn't, considering he's like 21.
Right.
And leading the Giro and has a podium like locked in if he stays strong on this last stage. But yeah, I think it's on Del Toro, but you have to catch him before the Finestre, before the end of the Finestre, because then Yates gets on Wout's wheel and they pull out, like, I think the stat was like 4 minutes over a 15-minute period is how much the gap goes out.
Yeah.
And at that point, it's just over.
Yeah. We only saw numbers like that, like when Jonas attacked Poggi, when Poggi cracked on the, I can't remember what the
Granon
was. Yeah, the Granon. Like, he just put in so many, like almost 3 minutes to Poggi with the time bonuses at the finish line, over 2.5, 3 kilometers. It was crazy. And so, yeah, you can just slide back. What I love hearing your point of view on it is just as a cyclist who's actively trying to get to that level, in the next few years, hopefully. Yeah. It's like, how are you analyzing that from, not, like, for me, it's a fan perspective, right? It's super easy to go and listen to the Move podcast or Lanterne Rouge and just hear their analysis and be like, oh, yeah, like, that makes a lot of sense. But it's totally different when you're in the saddle, thinking, like, okay, you're 30 minutes into an hour-long climb after 3.5 hours of racing. Yeah. Like, it's just... Yeah, it's really interesting. So, so I think that bridges us to the Criterium. Yeah. Which is just so, like, I don't know if I've ever watched the Dauphine before. Yeah,
I've watched it a little bit, but this one, I've been very hyped after seeing the first stage. And
right. Now, why are you so hyped? Like, let's for some of our listeners, they aren't aware of the cycling world. They're just getting into it.
Well, the biggest thing that I'm excited for is Jonas looks like he's back to full strength and back to ready to battle Poggi at the Tour this year. If you follow, so Poggi has been the dominant rider. Pogačar has been the dominant rider for the last few years. He won last year's Tour. He beat Vingegaard by about 5-6 minutes, I think, in the end. And they've actually traded tours for 5 years now, so I think Poggi's at 3, Jonas is at 2. Yeah. But they've only raced each other in 4 tours.
Right. And that's because Vingegaard was pulling for Primos the first year?
No, Vingegaard wasn't even racing, didn't race the Tour the first year. Gotcha. Yeah. But yeah, so essentially last year Vingegaard, like, 2.5 months before the Tour, had a really, really bad crash. Right. Fractured several, I don't know, ribs, but punctured a lung as well. And it was a really bad crash that I think it was like him, Remco, Evenepoel, and Primoz were all in the same crash. Yeah. So it was like every heavyweight favorite for the Tour except Poggi was in that crash. Right. So just coming back and finishing second in the Tour. Right. Was pretty good. Really, really good for Vingegaard. But seeing him at full strength at the first stage of the Dauphine has made me very happy.
Yeah. And that the other thing, too, is that the top 3 from last year's Tour are at the Criterium. So you have Poggi, then Vingegaard, and then Remco. And that's very rare. That rarely happens. And I think just the fact that Jonas and Tadej are in a 1-week stage race against each other is very rare as well. Yeah. Like, that hasn't happened a lot. It's happened before, but not a lot.
It's happened a couple times, but not this close to the Tour. And, and I mean, like, to really put into scale how crazy this rivalry is between Jonas and Pogačar. Over the last 4 years, if you take out, like, all time bonuses and whatnot, and you just break it down to, like, their cumulative time for the tours, I believe they're separated by about 30 seconds, less than 30 seconds, over 4 years.
That's wild. That's crazy.
Yeah, so
I don't think I realized it was that tight.
Yeah, it's a pretty crazy difference.
Yeah. And for very distinct riders. And I think that's why this stage was such a surprise, because it was a pretty rolling stage. Like, there wasn't
It was supposed to be a sprint stage.
Yeah. But you wouldn't have been surprised if there was a breakaway that did manage to get away.
Yeah, I think people were wondering if, like, someone would be able to, if a breakaway rider would go over the top of, like, one of the last climbs and stick away. But we ended up seeing a Vanguard attack on the flat after a climb.
Yeah.
It looked like Poggi was in a little bit of difficulty, but still caught him. And then you had the big three, Remco, Tadej, and Vingegaard, all in a group with Matthew van der Poel, who's arguably like, in terms of a pure classics rider, he's the best of this generation.
Yeah.
And they ended up going to the line, and Tadej wins in a sprint through some of that strategy we were talking about, where since the three of them were competing for GC, they can play the card that we don't want to pull and then lose to it. So it's kind of in van der Poel's court to pull them all the way to the line, and he got burnt in the sprint.
Yeah, he looked pretty tired.
Yeah.
And it looked like he went early, too.
Well,
Maybe
but he
just
had
didn't
to.
have the legs.
Well, he also had to lead it out because the sprinters were coming. The
fair.
peloton was, like, right on their wheels.
Yeah.
So. But yeah, it was... Poggi has now won, technically on paper, a bunch sprint because there was no time gap between them and the group behind, because they were...
So he can do anything.
Caught. Like, he can literally win bunch sprints now. Yeah.
Now, if you had to pick, who would you choose to win the Criterium?
I think Poggi will win the Dauphine. I don't really worry about it in terms of, like, for the tour, because I want Vingegaard to really do well in this tour. But I think just the shorter week-long format really suits Poggi. And Vingegaard is definitely whenever he's beat Poggi, it's kind of a breakdown over a few weeks that kind of leads it to, like, one big time taking.
Yeah, I know that's the thing that, like, I would like to pick someone else, just to I don't know, be different. But really, I agree. Like, I was really surprised that Vingegaard looked so good.
Yeah,
and that attack came when it did. And also, Tadej mentioned in the, like, literally right after the race finished, in the post-race interview, he just said, I went into the red or whatever. Like, he made me dig really deep. Which that was interesting. They just share information so freely. But I do guess everyone sees everyone's data pretty much now. Like, I know some people post on Strava, but...
Yeah. I mean, they're all hiding their power data on Strava.
Okay.
I know, because I've checked regularly. But yeah, I mean, like, they are pretty honest. Poggi's been pretty honest usually about, I just didn't have the legs on that stage, or that attack was pretty hard to follow or whatnot. And he doesn't often say stuff like that, because usually he is the strongest.
Right, yeah. Normally he doesn't have to go into the red.
Yeah.
Or if he is, he's winning it by 3 minutes.
So yeah, I'm just hoping to see that Vanguard just looks really strong once we hit the big mountain stages later in the week as well.
Right. Yeah. What's the mountain stages look like?
I think they have, like, the Col de la Madeleine. I don't think they don't have, like, any of the big like legendary climbs that they have in the tour, but they do have some pretty hard mountain stages. I think two or three, probably just two.
Okay.
2 major ones. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't looked too much into the upcoming route.
Yeah, but it'll be good regardless. So
it'll be good.
Yeah, you guys should definitely tune in for. I mean, I think NBC News has really nice highlights. They'll put out like 20 to 25 minute highlights. So if you guys want to tune in for that. Now, before we wrap up, I really just want to congratulate you because you're officially graduated.
Yep.
I can't remember when we recorded the first one. I think you still had a week left.
Yeah, I think
you had so. It was your birthday weekend.
Yeah.
So you've had a bunch to celebrate this weekend. How good does it feel to be done?
It's nice, yeah. But it's also like I just went straight into working, so schedule seems just as full, if not fuller.
Right.
So, but yeah, it's nice to be done with that. I'll probably start missing it here. It'll start to feel weird once we go into fall again. But it'll be nice just to focus on riding my bike as well.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, what's your training schedule look like before you head to Wisconsin?
I mean, we only ever I really see it only 4 or 5 days in advance.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll probably push it a little bit more this weekend.
Yeah.
No racing this weekend, and then I'll have a lot of racing for the next month and a half, 2 months.
Right. Do you race one more time here before you go?
I have one more Twilight crit.
Okay.
Before I go.
Does that wrap the whole series for everyone, or are you going to be missing?
I think I'll miss the last day, so I need to score points. I need to do really well in the B race to extend my lead enough for the fact that I'm missing the last day. Okay. Which I did last year, but I don't know if I'll be able to do it this year. We'll see.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Cool. So you head to Wisconsin shortly. Why don't you just explain what you're doing in Wisconsin, and then explain why you're going to Belgium and Ireland?
We got Wisconsin's got a junior. It's part of the junior national series, so it would be a selection for the national team, which is based off of how you do in these races that happen around the country throughout the year. It's Tour of America's Dairyland, otherwise known as Toad, and it's 4 days and 4 crits in different towns in Wisconsin, and yeah, I'll be competing with I think 1, 2, 3, 17, 18 juniors.
Wow. Okay. Cool. So it's gonna be the top.
Top
competition.
It'll be pretty good, and I hear it's pretty hectic too. So just kind of stay upright and then try to see if I can grab some points there.
Is it hectic in just the course route? It's just a really technical course, or just everyone's really fast and aggressive?
Really fast and aggressive.
Okay, gotcha.
I mean,
that makes sense.
I don't think the course isn't gonna change that too much.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But yeah, that's gonna be good prep for what I'll be doing eventually in Belgium, just in terms of the style of racing, but I'll be flying out from Wisconsin over to Ireland to race in the junior tour around them. I think we trained for a week before as well.
Okay.
Basically, I'm going with Team California, who takes a team of juniors over each year to both Belgium and Ireland.
Nice.
Though those are 2 separate trips, but I think there's only a couple of us that are doing both.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
So you'll have new teammates.
Yeah.
Almost at each spot.
Yeah. So there's actually someone that I talked with this weekend that I'll meet at Belgium, from down in Boise.
Cool. Cool.
But I won't be racing with him at Ireland.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So do you know the race schedule in Ireland? Is it
Yeah, I think it's still tentative, but I mean it's a six stage race, and just 6 days back to back to back.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we can find. I was talking with some people recently that did it 2 or 3 years ago, and they were saying that it can get pretty sketchy, just because you got 125 juniors on narrow Irish roads,
right,
in the rain.
Stay upright, man.
Yeah,
stay upright.
Yeah,
watch out for the sheep.
Yeah,
if they're out of the pasture, but that's really exciting. And in Belgium, is it similar?
Belgium will be racing individual races, so
gotcha.
I think we can race 3 times a week in Belgium.
Nice.
But then those are the way they've been described to me is the Kermesse racing there is in the style of crits, but instead of it being for 40-45 minutes, you're racing it for 2 hours. So
Dang.
it's
so
pretty
you're
intense.
Come back absolutely yoked, just
sure,
really,
just
big.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. I thought that was gonna.
It's very possible. Yeah. No, I'm hoping to come back pretty fit after that, and then we'll see how much racing. Whether I take a couple weeks just to kind of train and reset before I hop back into racing, because it'll have been a lot. Dude. Yeah. Stress.
And someone was just asking me this today, if you were going to be overlapping with the Tour de France at all. Are you going to be able to go and see any races live?
I don't think so, unfortunately.
Okay.
I think I'm going to be in Ireland for most of the tour.
Oh, really?
So it's so close, but so far.
Yeah, because the tour starts the 5th.
But it could be fun to watch tour stages though with a bunch of other junior racers.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I
and
think
also
that'll be
like, you'll be able to watch it live without having to get up super early.
Yeah,
Which is
yeah.
pretty sweet.
Yeah,
Unless
so-
you're racing or
Yeah.
riding during that time.
So yeah, it'll be pretty funny that we've gotten that close, and then we might end up watching like replays afterwards, just because we've been racing or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think we will get a chance to go ride some of like the Tour of Flanders climbs,
Nice. Okay, cool.
in Belgium.
Oh, dude, let's go.
which will be really cool. And then it'll just be a really fun month and a half of racing.
Yeah, that's going to be really cool. And the two things that, we'll still be posting on YouTube. You'll still be posting on YouTube. But people should definitely follow you on Strava. Because you post there, like, right after your races.
Yeah.
So if people want to see results.
I'd put results, updates, and then, just kind of a breakdown of the race.
Yeah, so that's really helpful. And then you and I will probably do, like, a weekly call. Just whenever you have time, we'll just do, like, a 15, 20-minute catch-up. And talk about the racing and also what it's like being over there in a different culture. I think that's going to be super cool. And to just be in the culture of cycling. Because over here in Moscow, like, we have a pretty active community, but it's not, like, cycling focused.
Yeah, for
It's more
sure.
casual.
Yeah, and then I'll try work on my Instagram consistency to try to see if I can get some posts, just because I think there will be some really cool sites over there. Yeah, so I'll try to work on posting fairly consistently there, because I'm just not gonna have time to learn and figure out editing YouTube videos.
Yeah. What's your Instagram handle?
AeroBear07, I believe.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, before we sign off, I was going to ask you, I had this for the top of the show, but then totally forgot it until now. But if you had to make your racing bike out of one Minecraft material, what would it be?
I don't know. I feel like netherite's just too heavy, and so you have to go diamond because it's still stiff and light. It's got to be the closest thing to carbon in Minecraft.
Okay.
Yeah. Not that I've thought very deeply about this.
but if you haven't, you will.
Yeah,
now.
but I will now think very deeply about this. The last 5 minutes of this podcast are just going to be me thinking deeply.
Yeah. Cool. Well, is there anything else you want to cover? I feel like that catches everyone up. We didn't talk about your bike throw at your last crit up in Spokane.
And that's because I lost.
No, but it's a pretty epic. It's a pretty epic clip.
We'll have to post it on YouTube, maybe YouTube short for that. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, if that's it, make sure you follow Bear on Strava, Bear Lopez. You can also follow me, Isaac Lopez, on Strava.
He needs it.
Yeah. All right. Well, take us out, Bear.
Well, thank you for listening, and this has been the AeroBear podcast.